We'll go ahead and do that. And then again, I will say, welcome everyone. We're really happy to have Ryan Johnson here to teach us about nonprofit communications and storytelling. She's Associate Director of Content Development over at Partners for Rural Impact, and we're really excited to invite her in to share with you. So without further ado, I think I'll go ahead and turn it over to you, Ryan.
Awesome. Well, hi, everyone. I am going to share my screen here because I have a handy dandy little presentation we will walk through to keep us on track. Anyone who knows me knows that I'm a talker, so we got to have this to keep us on track. Well, I am super excited to be here. Thank you all so much for inviting me and having me here. What we are going to do over the next few weeks is talk about storytelling and how to tell our story. But for today's agenda, we're going to work through three different things. So we're going to work through your mission moment, your story arc, which may take you back to your elementary school days. And then we are going to actually craft a ripple story. So, Kathy, I love that you are here and you are walking. If ever you need to hop off, you do that because we are going to kind of be a little hands-on today. So everybody make sure that you've got something you can take some notes with. But Kathy, stay on if you can, because you'll still take plenty from this. But this is what we're going to do. We're going to work through these three things today. But first, before we do this, let's do a quick check-in. And so I can make sure that I know who all is here in the chat, which I've got to figure out how I can see my chat here. Go ahead and drop in your name, your organization, and whether or not you do your storytelling. So are you the communications person for your organization? And what do you hope to get from this today? So just really quick. I am pulling up the chat here. Yes, Abby, no worries whatsoever. Do not worry about that. So just go ahead and start. You can pop those in there anytime, but we will go ahead. Oh, Natalie, good. Okay, so Appalachia Book Company. I read that in the survey. So that is awesome. So we will go ahead and get started. Let me pull my little notes up so I can stay on track. So when Leah introduced me, she introduced me as the Associate Director of Content Development. And so when I started with PRI, I thought, okay, so what kind of content am I going to even be creating here? But then my boss started to introduce me as the resident storyteller. And I thought, gosh, I think that Associate Director of Content Development sounds just a little bit, more important. But the reality is, and the truth is, that when you work for a nonprofit, it doesn't really matter what your job title is, does it? What you are doing is you are making a difference in someone's life, in someone's community, in someone's organization, and everything that you do matters. But whether you're like us and you're focused on, rural education, maybe you're with the Girl Scouts and you're focused on building, leadership skills and confidence in young women. Maybe you're with a hospital. I think I saw a hospital on the list. And you are working to provide comfort and care to families when they need it the most. We all share one thing in common, and that is that the stories that we tell is what keeps our work alive. And so I became really proud to be the resident storyteller because at PRI we have a lot of boots on the ground who are out working and making huge impacts in their communities. And so getting to know them, getting to know the people that they are working with and sharing those stories was absolutely incredible. And so for me, I'd remind myself that stories are not fluff. Stories are not just sharing events. When I first started at PRI, everyone wanted me to share their event. Hey, we're having a book fair, or we're having this, or we're having that. And I did it because I was new and I wanted to share their events and I wanted to build that trust with them so that they would learn to come to me. But the more I did that, the more I got to know them and I was able to dive in and learn a little bit more about who is the student that's coming to that book fair who can get the free book that had never owned a book before. And I had one of our program directors share a story with me, and he said, there was a little girl who had just carried this. They had a book fair, and they gave every student in the school a book. And this little girl had carried this book around all day. And finally, he said, "Is this a book you've been wanting?" She said, "No, this is just the first book I've ever owned for myself. All the other books that she had ever had, she had to return, right? So she had either checked them out of the library or borrowed them." And so that was the moment that I was like, that's the story. Not that you had the book fair, right? But that's the story. And so that's when I realized, I thought, this is how I'm going to be able to, get a hold of people and help them to see that this is where the story is, and it's about that heart. And so as I was preparing for this, I did some research, and I read where people are more likely to remember a story. So if they're reading a story about your organization, 22 times more likely to remember that than they ever will data or statistics. And so keep that in mind as you are sharing about your organization, and you're sharing the things that you're doing. It's not always about the event. It's not always about, the data, but it's about the people that will make a difference in. So before I do that, I want to show you guys a quick video, and I want you guys to think about this as you are watching it. Everybody hear it? Oh, sorry. I accidentally hit the wrong screen. Hang on. Let's see here. Hang on. We're going to go back to present. So what did you all, when you watched this video, what did you take from this video? What did you see? What did you hear? Anybody?
I think right out of the gate, you can tell that it's a call to action of some kind, but it doesn't jump immediately into the call to action. Instead, it gives us the background and story, which is the compelling mechanism that makes the audience listen. Is that close?
Yeah. Mike says that he has clean water to drink and can access his dreams. Absolutely. So what if this video had just been, there's data, and it had just said there's this many children without access to clean water. Would that have been as impactful as actually seeing Adain's story?
No.
Or that sweet little smile at the end, right? I mean, gosh, that little laugh at the end got me like right in my heartstrings. And so things to think about when it is emotional, Allie. Yes. So the key elements of this story specifically, and this is what's going to lead us into the work that we're going to do, is, it starts with a specific person. It started with this child, and it told his story. And then it showed the problem. He didn't have access to the clean drinking water. He couldn't go to school. He was sick all the time. But then it also showed the solution, where this organization came in and made a difference. And then it also had the call to action. So just like Whitney said, where we can help contribute to that and we can be a part of that good work. So we are going to, if I can make my screen work the way it's supposed to here. Let's do this. So before we go into our, where you all are going to do some work, I'm going to tell you all a quick story of my very own. So at Partners for Rural Impact, and I am going to read this because I'm reading the story to you all, but at Partners for Rural Impact, our mission is pretty simple. So our whole vision is that we want to make sure that all rural students succeed in whatever way, shape, form, or fashion that is. So I'm going to tell you all two different versions of this story. So across Kentucky, we know that literacy is one of the biggest challenges facing our students. According to the Kentucky Department of Education, less than half of elementary students are reading on grade level by the end of third grade. That's impactful. I mean, when you think about the fact that, more than half of our students cannot read on grade level by third grade, as adults, right, that makes us go, oh my goodness, we're in trouble. But what if you hear this? When a little girl walked into second grade, she was struggling to read. Her speech wasn't clear, and every time the class took turns reading aloud, she grew quiet, hoping no one would notice. But her teacher did notice. Not just that she was behind, but that she was trying to hide it. At the same time, her school began implementing one of Partners for Rural Impact's programs, the Innovative Approaches to Literacy, which is IAL. Through this initiative, teachers were given new tools and support to help students find confidence and joy in reading. The school even installed a book vending machine where students could earn coins for positive behavior and reading milestones. The teacher began working with the little girl a few extra minutes each day, practicing letter sounds, reading simple books, and celebrating each small success. And that little girl became determined to earn a coin of her own. By the end of the year, she proudly received the Reading Award for Most Improved Reader. Now she reads out loud with confidence and has a growing library of books that she can't put down. So do you see the difference in how we shared that? So just so you know, on a personal note, that little girl was my daughter, Cameron. And this is not her picture or her teacher, but I didn't have one. So I just tried to find one that was close enough. But I wanted to be able to share that with you all so that you could see the difference, because the data will give us context and it's important. We have to include that, right? But when we are able to give the story something that a reader can connect with, that's what makes all the difference in the world. So what we're going to do to get started is we are going to work on really quick, and this should just take us a couple of minutes. But what is I call them mission moments. So I shared mine. Mine was personal. That was my daughter. So I was working for PRI and I knew that the work was important, but it was the moment that it made a difference for my little girl that I was like, wow, what if we could do this for all the kids, right? So I want you to think really quick, just jot down a couple of things. Ask yourself the moment in your organization when you realized this is why I'm here. This is why I'm doing the work that I do. So what resonates with you? Just take a minute and think about that. Ask yourself, who was there? What was happening? How did you feel? And what changed because of it? Anyone want to share one?
We've got that after lunch crowd today, Ryan.
You're fine. I know. It's okay. I feel it.
I don't mind to jump in, Ryan. This is actually something that happened fairly recently. Thinking of a student, she won't mind if I use her name. It's very public. But Zia is a student at Thompson Scholars, and they've been working on this large project, and it brought together 42 employers across Clay County in Eastern Kentucky and 450 kids from Redbird and Oneida And I was there visiting on one of the days, and she was like, Mike, we want to do this every year. There was this sense of empowerment. Brushy Fork is about equipping local leaders to do the things that they need to do to make change in their community. And so here's this sophomore who is feeling, fully into their power to make change locally. And it's just like this really important moment for me personally, just going, oh, this is the power of people-ready communities. So
Absolutely. I love that. I love Thompson Scholars. Such a great program. Lydia says, one of my clients is the New Americans Initiative and getting to be there for a new set of Americans getting their citizenship. Oh, yes. And being able to, get in there and get it to know, that's a great story. Get to know someone and learn what they went through to get here, would be an incredible story for you to share. Okay. So what we're going to do, now that you have in my presentation, I'm just going to switch through instead of playing it all out on the screen. We're just going to go through this whole thing here, but I want you to think about the mission that you thought of. So the story that you thought of. So Mike, Lydia. So Lydia, the person who is going to get their, citizenship. Think about that person. So you're going to need your character. And because we are all Appalachians, I used pictures from the flood to as examples here. But you need your character. So think about who that is. So yours is going to be those folks coming over and getting their citizenship. Mike, yours is going to be the student from Thompson Scholars. And then what is that conflict? So think about the story. So what did that person have to go through to be able to get his citizenship or her citizenship? Mike, what has that student been through, and why is that people-ready community important for them? And then the resolution. So that's where your organization is going to come in and they're going to provide whatever it needs to be able to fix the problem, right? So I'm going to take you back to elementary school here. The story arc. So the way that we wrote our cute little paragraphs in elementary school, my kids are doing this right now, is going to be the same way that we write a story even for public relations and communications. So you still want to introduce, set the scene, So when I was sharing my story earlier, I talked about the classroom. If you closed your eyes, you could literally see the little girl sitting in the classroom, right? Being quiet because she was terrified she was going to get called on, slunking down in her seat. So sharing that whole, vision of what that looks like. And then the challenge. So she couldn't read and she was scared. And then the turning point. So that's when PRI came in with the program and provided more opportunities and excitement. And then the resolution. So the teacher stepped in, the program stepped in, they were able to help her. And then rah, 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 right? She can read and she got the award and life is great now. And so that's kind of how that story goes. So that's the way you're going to do this now, is with your story. So we're going to actually do this. So I hope you guys have been thinking as I've been talking, and not just Mike and Lydia thinking of their stories. But we're going to break out into some groups. And Leah, I'll let you decide how many. We can have, maybe 3 in each group. And then, or 4, it doesn't matter, however you want to break it out. But we're going to actually go through and decide who our character is, and what the conflict is in the resolution. And we're going to go through the whole thing and write out your story. It's going to be a short one. So your homework is going to be to make it big. I'm thinking 3 or 4 or 5 sentences. Okay. And then I'll kind of pop in each one and see if there's any questions that I can answer, or help you all out. Before we do this, does anybody have any questions?
As we go into those breakout rooms, do you have a way that we can reference this activity so that it's quick and easy for people to get to? Awesome.
So if you want to snap a picture, or Lee, I'm not sure if you can make this screen go into the breakout rooms or how that works with Zoom. I don't know, but maybe you can snap a picture of this. But this is going to be your 5 points. So you're setting the scene. You are creating, you're talking about the challenge. What's the turning point? This is when your organization steps in. What's the transformation? And then how did you inspire the engagement? So how did you say, come be a part of this or support this? Does that help?
Great. And I don't know that there's a way to make that broadcast into the breakout rooms. I'm not, yeah. If anybody's more Zoom tech savvy than I and knows how to do that, I would love to learn. But for now, we'll go with the picture.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna create 4 breakout rooms. And yeah, we'll put 3 or 4 people in each one.
Okay.
It was worked out here.
Kathy, don't stress. You can go back and do this later.
Yes. And then Ryan, I'll leave you out of one, I reckon. So
Perfect.
okay, so one has 2 people, but
Okay.
and then Kathy, I know you're walking around and I still see you in this main room. You might need to click join if you'd like to participate in the breakout room. And you're muted. So I believe
Yes.
you. Whatever you're saying, I'm a yes.
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 I won't really be able to participate only because I'm walking and
You're
And
good.
you're at what was it? The musket shooting? What was
yeah,
that?
well, now we're at the sailing vessels
Wow.
that they use to get to.
Very fun. Very fun.
So I'll just listen. I just won't join in the activity today.
You're
Awesome.
You're
No problem. No problem at all.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
So Leah, can I pop in and out of them?
Yeah, do you have access to that with your
It
co-host?
looks like it. I can
Yeah.
say join.
Yep, go for it.
Okay.
To share just a little. Hey, Lydia.
There we go. Now I'm unmuted. So I could have stayed in that last breakout room for just a few more minutes. We were talking about a different perspective from sharing your story. And so Whitney was telling Whitney, do you want to share a little bit for a minute about what we were talking about? And then Natalie and I can chat.
Yeah, absolutely. Kentucky Heartwood's a forest advocacy group, but one of my biggest mission moments actually occurred this past weekend. I was able to go out to a project site that we have known for a long time was inevitably going to be cut. But this was the first time I've seen active logging preparations in the field. So walking a 20-foot wide dirt path that used to be a nice little trail, and then hearing machines, and then the noise gets closer and closer and closer, and then I'm up on a skid steer that I can smell the fuel and the hydraulic fluid, and it's just I have not seen anything like that in my time with Kentucky Heartwood yet. So using that as the driver, my biggest struggle was figuring out who's that voice going to be, right? Like, who is that character going to be? And Rianne, am I saying that correctly? Ryan, sorry. Sorry. Suggested that maybe I be the voice, because was a new experience and a new kind of overwhelmingly glaring, destructive thing that I've never seen before. So I think I'm going to try to lean into that. And then Natalie also suggested using certain animals or species in the forest there, and tell the story from their perspective, right? Like, we know that there's endangered Indiana bats and other aquatic species in that area that are threatened. So how could we tell the story from their perspective?
Mm-hmm. I love that. I think that's a great idea too.
Thank you.
I had asked Whitney if they had a blog. That would be a great way for her to share her version of that story. And then you never know, with your SEO and all the things that you'll set in your blog, then you never know who's going to pick that story up and then share it
Right.
from a different perspective. And so
That's a very good
that's
point.
yeah. So Natalie, you're the only one I didn't get to chat with. So tell me about your mission moment and kind of where you are.
Sure. So I started Appalachia Book Company a few years ago, and I think largely because, well, I have a background in publishing, but I had moved to Eastern Kentucky and I was just captivated by the place and the people and all the stories. And I heard from a writer who said that, his first novel was being published by a commercial house in New York. And the feedback that he got was like, listen, these characters aren't believable because they're really smart. You can tell in the dialogue, but they live in a trailer park and readers are just not going to believe this. And I thought, well, that's dumb. Like, and so this editor wanted him to change his story and he refused to do it. And most people who work in commercial publishing, even literary publishing, they have a very similar background. And I thought, there seems to be like a geographic inequity here that I think we can address with creating a small literary publisher that's based in this area that lets writers tell their stories in their own voices. The problem with that mission statement I'm sorry, I can't remember what you called it, that
The
story
mission
is
moment,
not
yeah.
mine. It's this author's, and he's actually a very well-known author. And so I don't want to, be telling his story to the whole world for him.
Mm.
So, I mean, Whitney had a good idea, and this is something that we have neglected to do thus far. Is like we really don't follow up with our readers and people who've purchased our books.
Mhm.
And, it would be interesting to hear from them, to hear like what the impact of our organization is on them. And that could be an
Yeah.
interesting story.
Absolutely. But also you could have your author. So when you think about, and it doesn't necessarily have to be that author, but if you have an author and you share their story, so it's him, he's the one that's sharing it. You're just getting it out there. So you're just the vehicle that's getting his story out there. And he may do that for you as, a way to like promote you as the publisher, so he could give you some little sound bites that you could use on social media, and it doesn't have to be the whole like, well, they told me the whole story. It could just be, she really respected who I was and my voice, and share it that way. But I would just ask your authors if they're willing to give you that, those stories and let you share them as well. Yeah.
Thank you. I will.
Absolutely. Does anybody else have one they want to share with the group? I know we shared individually, but anybody have one they want to share with the group? Anybody? Nobody? It's okay. So what we're going to do next is, now that we have shared, I want you to think about your story, and your homework is going to be thinking about, you've got this story. So now what? So like Whitney and I talked about sharing it on the blog, which then she could push through to social media. So once you get that story in your mind, you've got your mission moment, you've put it kind of together, you've got just a little outline, which is basically what you did with your 5 spots. But you're going to have that outline. So now you're going to write the story, and then you're going to figure out where you want it to go, right? So is this going to be on video? So not all of us have full-time videographers, but we can I call them influencer style videos, and they are hot right now. So you do not have to have, Michael know this name, a Derek, like we have at PRI, who can come and set up, and he's got multiple cameras and all of the, things. We don't have to have all that anymore. But if you're going to share on social media, you can do your little influencer style videos, and you can do that with your phone. It is amazing, the things that you're able to do. And that's what people want to see, because they're feeling like that is more transparent. It's more real. And people are more likely to watch your influencer style videos than they ever would your big professional, major videos. Now, if you're having a big event or a giant fundraiser or a conference, you're going to want your professional style videos, right? But for social media, those influencer style videos are hot. And so you can use those right now. But I want you to think about, what is your call to action? So you've put all this together, but now what's your call to action? So is it support? Do you need fundraising? Do you need memberships? So always want to add that call to action at the end of whatever it is that you are doing. So for your homework, you are going to put this together. So we're looking at 150 words. Okay. So nothing major, but just think about this story and really pull it together. So it's not real homework. You don't have to turn it into me. I just want you to be able to get something from this. And so really sitting down and writing this out, because it's one thing for us to talk about it, but it's another when you actually sit down and write it out. You are welcome to email it to me. I will put my email in the chat so everybody will have it. It is just Ryan Johnson at partnersrural.org. I'm also on all the social medias, as you can imagine. So you can find me on LinkedIn, Facebook. If you want to see pictures of all of my children, you can get me on Instagram. It's whatever you want. But you can send these to me. So Natalie, Whitney, I know you all were kind of struggling with how to write that. Email me. Let's see.
Thank you.
I love getting folks to answer questions. Oh, that's a great idea too, Lydia. I feel like this group is going to be able to share ideas that maybe the others of us wouldn't know to think of, because I've never even heard of Video Ask. So I'm going to Google that here in a minute and figure out what that is. But I want you guys to feel like you can email me and we can chat, because the more that you all start with this, everything that we do is going to kind of build on each other. So I want you to feel comfortable with this mission moment and getting this story together and thinking along these lines. So you can send it to me. You can share your mission moment in the next meeting that you have with your coworkers and see how they react. But as you share these stories, pay attention to how people are reacting to you when you share this story, because that's when you're going to know that you have hit the nail on the head, right? So I am from the hollers or the whatever we were talking about in one of our groups. But when you can see the look on someone's face and they're like, wow, that is impressive, or that is impactful, or I want to be a part of that. That's when you're going to know that you've gotten it just right. And it just takes practice. You won't get it right the first time. It may even take the second or third time, but the more you do this, the more that it's going to, you're going to get it right. So practice that story, work on your 150 words or less, shoot it over to me, shoot it over to a coworker, whoever you want. And then we'll work a little bit more next week. So Leah, do you want to share what we're doing next week?
Yes, thank you. And thank you, Ryan, for sharing your content today, and all of you for authentically sharing with one another. It's really rich conversations we've had. I'm just sharing my screen here. Can everyone see the right screen? Good to go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So just to remind you, this is a 4-part series. So the next session will be next Thursday from 1:30 to 2:30, and then the subsequent Thursdays beyond that. It's the same registration link, so you don't need to re-register for the next ones. And we will be sending out recordings. The next one, I believe, will focus on smart social media strategies. And like Ryan said, it'll build on what we've worked through here. I also wanted to give you a quick save the date reminder. We are the next installment of this workshop series, once we've wrapped up this 4-part session, will be on November 20th from 2 to 3:30 with Jordan Carmack, talking about AI-powered impact reports for those end-of-the-year reports that a lot of our organizations do. So save the date for that, and you can register at tinyurl.com/AI simplify. And then I'm just going to switch over to a different tab here. And just a reminder that all of this is made possible by Bree College Appalachian Fund and the Appalachian Regional Commission.
Brilliant.
Funding our work for capacity building with the Appalachian Fund affiliate grantees. And so as part of this programming, alongside these workshops, we are also offering some capacity building and technical assistance support. So I'll send all these flyers out to you via email, so no need to really go in depth now, more just to have a visual to refer to in this moment. If you all in your organizational work need support with things like program planning, evaluation, deeper dives into storytelling and marketing, strategic planning, board development, operations, fundraising planning, there's a lot of different technical assistance work we can do to support you all. So please do not hesitate to reach out and take advantage of some of these services. And we would love to work with you all more directly, and glad to see you all here in this workshop. I'll open up to questions here in just a moment. And then just to say, when you close out of your Zoom window today, it will go to a short 3-question survey. So that will automatically open in your browser. So if y'all wouldn't mind to take a moment just to fill out that survey as you're on your way out. And yeah, that's all I've got to share. Any thoughts, questions, or closing reflections before we go our separate ways?
I had 2 questions. Just first one, like, is it cool if I like share this series with someone who could like join in the future? And, I'll tell them like they can watch the recording. Like, that's not a problem?
Yep.
Yeah.
Great. Absolutely. Thanks, Beer.
Yeah, no problem. And then I also, well, not a question. I just shared my leadership podcast in the chat, but I actually talked with Silas House, and he talked about today's theme of like the importance of leading with a story rather than like data and things like that. So just thought people would appreciate that.
Yeah. It's true. When you lead with heart and you are sharing, and it's people can tell if it's legitimate or not, and they know, and they can read that in your stories as well. Well, I can't wait, and I hope all of you email me your stories, because I loved getting to talk to all of you, and you all have really great stories to share. And so I'm just crossing my fingers that all of you will send them to me so I can read them.
Awesome. Thank you all so much. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.